Hello and welcome to another amazing episode. We are having a joint episode today with my fabulous co-host Claire Oatway is in the house. Today I'm going to ask how Claire is in a moment, but I want to share with you what we are talking about today. And today we are exploring the past to living a life of abundance and aligning with that abundance. And that's what we've been talking about all this month. And today we're particularly focusing on the top 3 money blocks for women.
Yes.
So, how are you, Claire? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jen. Thank you for asking. And
Ex-
I'm super excited about this because we're about to shine a light on some of the hidden forces that may be quietly holding us back from the life we deserve. So you listeners, listen up, take notes, take action more likely.
yes, lots of action, and it will help you rethink your relationship with money. Um, So we're going to delve into our unconscious beliefs about money and those beliefs that keep you stuck in coming from a place of lack and scarcity, the beliefs that keep you stressed, and also the feeling of guilt about wanting more. So we are going to uncover the top 3 money blocks that you probably don't even realize are there and that are controlling your financial reality.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you introduced it in that way because it's not just about the moolah, it's not about the cash, the dough, the money, the dollars, whatever it is. It's not just about those finances, it's also about your energy, your alignment, and really opening up to what's truly possible when you shift your perspective and your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So if you feel like, and I know I felt like this, and I'm sure you have too as well, Claire, if you feel like you're working harder and not getting any further, or you're constantly worrying about your financial matters, whether no matter how much you earn, this episode for you is for you. And the answers are closer than you think, and we're about to reveal some of them.
Indeed. Well, Jen, shall we start with the number one? Because I think this really gives permission for us all to hold this space and, to be unafraid to talk about money. So,
Yes.
what's the really big one in your mind?
I think for women or for people with a lot of feminine energy, and we've spoke about this in a couple of the other episodes around how we feel about money. And it's kind of there's a spiritual element that comes through. So it affects, money can be a conflict within your spirituality. So as women, we tend to be a lot softer, let's say, a lot more compassionate and loving and giving. And I think a lot of women, what I've seen, certainly with clients, what I see a lot is there's a conflict about charging what your services are worth
Hmm.
because they see it as a service based, it's a service rather than a business. So we're focusing on more service over profit. And I think a lot of women, certainly I know for myself as well as my clients, they often feel that if they charge more, they're prioritizing money over their mission.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there's so many archetypes that reinforce that around the starving artist or the kind of pious preacher, as well as the negative archetypes that we have around people who have money. So kind of, the materialist who ruins the planet and is awful in relationships and is greedy. But both of those elements, whether it be no, it's right and it's good to have no money and it's bad to have money. Both of those cause damage to us.
Absolutely. And I think with women that are in a service orientated business, they have usually they have a really deep calling to help others, and work in form of a spiritual service or healing. That could be a nurse, it could be literally healing, like with my Reiki, that my healing practice and massage practice. And when you feel charging higher prices can really feel like placing that financial gain above your purpose. But what I love about this is, and also there's the element of being feeling or being perceived, as you mentioned, greedy. We don't want to be perceived as greedy. But I think it's important for women to generate that wealth and to focus on the value that they're bringing people. We'll talk a bit more about self-worth shortly, because that's really tied into our beliefs around money, and it's a huge money blocker. But yes, there a lot of women I come across, and I even had a conversation the other day with somebody, and we were talking about price, and she said, yes, but I don't want to be greedy. And it's like, well, but what you're offering is incredible.
Mm.
Nobody else is offering what you offer. It's highly unique. Um, and I think and I know for myself, when we're first pricing things, and I'm sure it's the same in terms of asking for a salary, an
Mm.
increase in salary. But I think just focusing on the price and focusing on the time that we're spending with that client, we forget all the other things that got us to that place. We forget all the money, the time, the effort, the energy that we've invested in ourselves. So it's not just about the time you're spending with that person, but it's also all of those things plus the value of your service, the value of what you're bringing to people.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah,
For sure. And it's just before we move on in terms of this particular conflict, we often get caught in the sense that you can't be spiritually pure and be pursuing wealth. And I just want to cut through that nonsense right now, because many of the different teachings, whether it's Stoicism or kind of any of the key religions, they don't reject wealth. They do call for balance. So it's not a no, thou shalt not earn any money, thou shalt not ask for cash. That's not there. It's more in line with balance and cognizance of your impact on the world and your impact on other people. And money is a form of energy. It has no morals in its own right. It only has morals that are applied by the person spending it. And so if you are a spiritually pure person or a good person or a person in service, money acts as an energy to amplify who you are. Money is not the root of all evil. Humans are the root of all evil, not
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think the energy exchange is really important to focus on, and what you're bringing to somebody. The other element of that as well, Claire, is when there's two aspects actually. One, when we are stepping into that wealth and we are charging the value of what we're offering, or you're asking for your value as a team player in a company, we're leading the way. We're being a role model for other women to make it okay to do that.
Mm.
And the other element is, when you're working, if you're in business and you're offering a service to people, if you're generating wealth, then that allows you then to help other people that can't necessarily afford your services as is, but you can offer them, reduced, you can offer them scholarship type programs, you can offer your services for free for somebody that really needs it. So you can spread the wealth that you have by allowing you to then serve others at a lower price. The one other thing that I want to add as well is, if you're working with people in service, One of the reasons that you want to look at your pricing, for example, is if you are charging a certain amount of money, people won't look at it as value. So if you're undercharging, they won't think that what you're offering has value, and it cheapens what you offer
Yeah.
as well. So I think that's quite important.
Yeah, and I want to just pick up on, what you've mentioned there around service. So, who would suggest that Tony Robbins is not a spiritual person? You wouldn't, would you?
No,
And actually, Tony Robbins, his one-on-one work, goodness knows how much that costs, but
millions,
definitely, yeah,
millions.
yeah, and definitely kind of his in-person multi-day events cost thousands to be there live. But what he does brilliantly, first off, he is very open about his contribution, his philanthropic work around feeding people right the way across America and his charity work. But also, he works really hard to release information all of the time to kind of give that energy. It's almost like the higher rates that he charges subsidizes the rest of the impact that he has on the world.
Yeah, and he does a lot of workshops that are free. There's a huge amount that are free or vastly reduced, so regular people, let's say, can afford it. And those that want, he has hundreds of thousands of people on those workshops. So of course, when he's working one-on-one, he's working with billionaires, he's working with millionaires. And those are the people that he's working with. He's actually also not just having an impact on their lives, but he's changing the world through working with these leaders that have that wealth available to them to make this planet a better place. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really important thing. And while you might not be Tony Robbins, there's so many women that I know in the coaching environment, in the education and information environment, that have really stepped up into their their high their high earning potential, and they're making a massive impact.
Mm.
And I think we mentioned, didn't we, that there's, what was it, 70% of the wealth?
60% of the wealth in the UK and in the US, roughly around the same figures, but in 2025, 60% of the wealth will be owned by women. Now, that's mainly through, there's a big chunk of that's through baby boomers, as well as kind of successful entrepreneurial women. But yeah, actually, it's time we stepped up into this place to be less embarrassed to talk about finances, to be less embarrassed to ask for our needs to be met.
Yes, because that's what it relates to, isn't it? Having
Mm.
that financial freedom is part of wanting your needs to be met. And in
Mm.
life is about fulfillment and joy. And part of that is financial wealth, is money, to be
Mm.
allow you to be able to do the things that you love with the people that you love to do it with. I think it's important to focus on what money can bring you in a positive light. What can it bring the people that you work with? What can it bring your loved ones? And
Well,
focus on that instead of focusing on, as you said earlier, it's what you do with the money and how you earn that money from a place of authenticity and integrity.
mm,
And we as women are here. The Dalai Lama, I think we mentioned this as well. You meant the Dalai Lama has said that women will change are who are going to change the world. We are going to change the world, and this is a key element of making that happen.
yeah, and if that's not enough to convince you, if you look at international development principles, and they have found that if you put money into the hands of women in different parts of the world, much more of it goes to the local community, goes to the family around them, goes towards education, and kind of lifts the living circumstances of everybody around them. So when women do accrue more wealth, the world truly does benefit.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why it is so important to evaluate your money, how you feel about money from a spiritual aspect, and start to shift that into something more positive so that you can do something about it and change the energy around your energy around money.
for sure.
Yeah, so that's block number one. Yeah.
Well, I think block number two, we've been talking about block number two, and I think this one is a really big one. And I think it's really present in terms of social media, in terms of conversations, in terms of what we read every day, what we watch every day as well. And it's something that we don't realize we have a lot more control over than we expect. So, Jen, what's number two?
Number two is how we're living our lives, just a small thing. In terms of the way we live our life in this world of busyness and rushing around from pillar to post, constantly feeling stressed or overwhelmed or anxious, juggling way too many things, too many responsibilities, and having very little room to intentionally build your wealth or think about your goals in terms of wealth and in terms of money, because you're too busy. You're too busy firefighting and reacting instead of taking intentional steps to create your financial abundance. And all of that stress, and we're talking, all of that stress will impact your vibration and your frequency, which we went into detail on episode 106, which was really juicy about how you raise your vibration. And we'll talk a bit about that more. But we get so caught up in our day to day, we forget what matters, and we've just got these blinkers on, and we're not looking at the bigger picture, and we're just living day in, day out, instead of living intentionally and living on purpose.
Well, and money in particular can invoke so much fear, and shame and stress. And if you're not opening up your bank statements at the moment, and I've definitely been there where I've kind of just put the envelope on the side, put the envelope on the side. But unless you're really looking at it, first off, you don't know truly where you are. Second off, there might be some subscriptions on there that are coming out, or things auto renew all the time. You go, what the hell? I really didn't pay for that. So there's some very practical information that's in there, and it's just a piece of paper. I think there's definitely something around where you are, and staying with the bank statement perspective. We add so much more extra judgment against where we are, and fear of self-judgment or judgment by others based on where we are. Hell, we are where we are today. Just get over it.
Deal with it.
You are where we are. Let's deal with it from where we are. Let's not deal with the fear of it or the judgment of it or the shame of it. It's just like, let's just roll up our sleeves and have an honest conversation with ourselves, because that's such a strong place in order to move forward. And it's something that I see on a lot of discussion boards. And, this is not, again, to criticize people, but I see so many people feel ashamed and embarrassed and saying, I'm really stuck in terms of cash. I don't know what to do. We don't know what to do as a family. It's like, when you are in that space, mentally and emotionally, you start to freeze.
Yeah.
And when you freeze, or you're backed up against the wall, you cannot see where to go next. So there's something really, really important about grounding that. Even if you just go, you know what? I'm going to come back to worrying about this in 10 minutes time. But for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to take that little worry bubble and I'm going to put it over there. But for the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to work out what next to do and see what I can do and come up with as many ideas as I can. Because it's when you give yourself the time and the permission to shift, even for a small amount of time, that's when you start to realize how much control you have. I mean, I felt it in relation to jobs as well. And you feel really miserable in a job, or kind of, there's a situation that's turned up. And kind of one of the things I say to myself is, well, I could quit. I could get a new job. And the moment you go, I could quit, you kind of go, oh, well, actually, I could quit and then go get a new job, because I have choices. I have more choices than I think that I do.
I think that's an important point you make about choice. There's always a choice of how we react and the action or the inaction that we choose to take. And I think what you were saying before as well is, social media is constantly on at us about the cost of living and everything's going up and all of those things. And you can make a choice, and a really positive action to take is to stop looking at it. It saps the life out of you. And it's
Yeah.
like, why? Instead of focusing on that, bring yourself back to creating that space and allowing yourself to be present and mindful. So slow down and be more intentional about what you want and how, what are the actions you need to do to create that? What is the way of being that you need to create that?
Oh, I wish I could remember the phrase in its fullest, but it's almost like, is it worth driving yourself into the ground and living a miserable life, buying things that you didn't actually need or want? You were told that you wanted it and you needed it and it would make you happy. But guess what? You driving yourself into the ground and getting stressed is going to directly impact on your ability to be happy. So you've always got more control and more choice than you consider. And I think, around social media and I think around other advertising, it's in other people's interests to make you feel scarce.
Mm-hmm. If you
So
buy
why?
this, you'll be happy. If
Oh
you
yeah,
buy
you'll be
this,
beautiful if you buy
yes,
this.
if you buy this slimming pill,
Yeah,
you'll be happy.
yeah.
And we know that happiness comes from within. And yes, there are some amazing products out there that are very beneficial for your health and how you feel about yourself outwardly. But ultimately, it's about how you feel within. Which I think leads us very nicely onto reason three, block number
Mm.
three, which is all around lack of alignment and our limiting beliefs about ourselves and about money. And I think that shows up. A lot of us relate money to our self-worth. So if we don't feel like we're worthy, then we're not deserving and worthy of money. So we might have some positive beliefs around money, that it's okay to have money, but we don't believe that we even deserve money.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And before we get too caught in that, I just want to put it out there that there is so much around conditioning in
Mm.
this about your sense of worth. So let me give you a couple of examples. One is, we are trained. There are expectations and assumptions that are placed on us that maybe we will get married and find someone to take care of us. That we will provide for others and take care of others' needs as mothers or sisters or friends or mentors, that we will put other people's needs first and be good girls. And when you look at basic, again, it's just craziness around fairy tales. And if you start to look at fairy tales, Cinderella, okay? So Cinderella is somebody who, didn't have a dress to wear. She was working really hard, menial tasks, and then she was rescued by a prince. And then her life was wonderful, and she had access to all of the fine dresses she could ever want, etc. She was also, I mean, the danger of Cinderella is again the flip side, which is the wicked stepmother and the wicked stepsisters. These were greedy people who would do anything they could to harm somebody else in the pursuit of money. And so some of these fairy tales that shape our belief systems, even at the lowest level, they shape our belief systems and they shape our sense of who we should be. And in shaping that sense of who we should be, kind of shapes how we feel right now, whether or not we're even aware of it. It's
Mm.
in there.
That brings to mind, remember my dad saying to me, he told me that I needed to marry somebody that earned a certain amount of money because then I would be happy. He said that to me when I think I was 18 or 19. maybe 20. He wasn't happy. Ah, yes, he wasn't happy with the choice of boyfriend that I had at the time. He was right about that, but um, he was he worked, and this isn't saying taking anything away from anybody in terms of but he was a he was a it's gone, but he was just about he was at the salary level of £12 an hour or something, minimum wage. Thank you. I didn't remember what it was. He was on minimum wage, maybe a little bit more. My dad shook his head and was like, Jenny, he's never going to be able to support you. You need somebody that's going to be earning at least 100,000 a year, whatever the figure was. And I remember turning around to him and I said, actually, Dad, no, because I'm the one that's going to earn the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and it actually did bring problems into the relationship because I did earn a lot more money than he did. And it did create a lot, even, when that happens, that's another thing in terms of being fearful that our partners, if we're earning more money than our partner, then they're gonna feel emasculated because
Whereas,
they're supposed to be the provider.
it's all about the net gain for your household. But it can be very difficult for a male ego. And again, that's because of the conditioning that men have
Yeah,
around what their role is for providing. But actually, things are moving. Let's keep things moving by saying, no, you be the one that earns £100,000. You be the one that earns £50,000, whatever it looks like. You be the one who chooses your destiny. You be the one who decides whether a handbag is going to make you feel better. But you know what? You decide.
yeah.
It's that shift, it really.
And I actually remember the same boyfriend. I remember having to ask him if I could buy a pair of boots, these really beautiful boots that I wanted. And I remember having to ask him permission
With your money.
with my money. Yeah.
But
Is it
there's also,
okay?
I mean, coming back to this wealth bit, and I wish I'd brought the prop, but there's a great video that's going around on Insta at the moment, and it's a guy. This is a bottle of water, and he says, right, this bottle of water, it costs £1 in a shop. At a railway station, it costs £2. Kind of at an airport, it costs £5. On an aeroplane, it might cost £10. And sometimes that bottle of water could cost you £10 at an exclusive festival. But it's the same water. So who is making the judgment about worth? And if you don't steer that, you will make everybody else the owner of that price of your worth. You need this.
Yeah, I think you make a valid point about wrapping up our worth with money. And especially when you're running your own business, you focus on your own worth, your self-worth. And your self-worth has got nothing to do with what you charge. Absolutely nothing. And when you go down that rabbit hole, you will stay stuck in that rabbit hole. So you have to stop connecting what you're charging to your self-worth. What you charge is related purely on what you offer and the value it brings to other people. And I mean, there's a lot of work that you can do on self-worth and deserving, which I help clients with. But I think if you can take that one step, and as well, when you're thinking about wanting a pay increase and you're looking for a promotion, you're looking for a salary pay rise, you don't focus on your self-worth. Focus on the value you're bringing to the company, to the team, to the job that you do, to the services that you offer. That's how you can get round that without having to deal with the minefield of self-worth and deserving.
So what ways can the listeners take today to start, really shifting this misalignment?
I think you need to be aware of your own personal the narrative that you tell yourself around money, um, and rewrite that. So notice when you're making statements or when a belief comes up, a thought comes up around, a negative money belief or the way you talk about money, and notice that and write it down. So we talked about this before. Instead of saying, so listen to how you speak about money. I can't afford it, to how can I afford it? Or I have other priorities at the moment.
Yep.
When you're using money, instead of looking at money when you've got, a lot of people say, oh my God, I've got so much credit card debt. I'm in debt. I've got an overdraft. Da, da, da. Instead of thinking of it as a debt, think of it as an investment. What have you bought with that money? What have you invested in? Have you invested in heat in your home? Have you invested in yourself? And that's another note into self-worth. When you're looking at self-worth, it's what helps you feel more worthy is if you actually spend money on yourself and you invest in yourself and invest in your future. Write down realistic financial goals. Become mindful about what your financial goals are. What is it you want to be earning? What do you want to earn a month? What do you want to earn in a year? What do you want to earn in the next 5 years? And have realistic goals so they feel a little bit uncomfortable. They're not in your comfort zone. You're stretching and pushing yourself out of that comfort zone. So if you're earning, let's say you're earning 100,000 a year, maybe you want to up that to 120,000, 130,000.
And sorry,
Go on.
I was going to say, and equally important, it's, if you want to be saving so much, what does that look like? And just taking the small step of moving £3 over or £5 over gives that energetic shift. It starts to unblock things for you.
Yeah, another thing is this is something really simple, keep your car full of petrol instead of waiting it to go on to empty. Because you're like,
no.
yes, keep it full, keep your cupboards full. Don't come down to where you've got a bare cupboard situation, unless of course you really are financially stuck in that way. But wherever you can, keep your cupboards full and keep your petrol, your electricity, keep yourself tanked up. And I think taking intentional steps towards that. We were talking about saving. So you save money before you spend it all. It's always at the beginning, instead of waiting till the end of the month to see what you've got left, save it at the beginning of the month. And also shop mindfully, especially as we're coming into the season of the holidays and present giving. Start to be mindful of how you're spending your money, the presents that you're buying, or if you're buying something for you, do I really want this? Do I need it? Or am I just listening to what I think I need to make me happy? If it is going to bring you real joy and it's aligned with where you are, then yes, but be more mindful about how you're spending your money.
Yeah, and emotional spending. So emotional spending on takeaways or alcohol, or there's going to be a million, a nice new frock, a handbag, a lipstick. Yes, if they are genuinely satisfying you. If they're an emotional crux, then think about how you might do it one less time. You don't have to completely emulate these luxuries or these spends, but just think, do I really want to?
Yeah, a friend of mine, this was interesting actually. She's recently lost a tooth, and the implant's going to cost her £1,000. And she's like, well, it's right at the back. I might not need it. And And she's sort of talking herself out of it. And we had a conversation. I said, well, how much you not having that back tooth, is that going to affect what you eat and how you eat? Is that going to affect on the things that you can eat? And she's like, well, actually, yeah, because I can't choose, so I can't eat some of my favorite foods. And I said, well, how can you afford? So how is it going to impact you without having that tooth? And she's like, oh God, that feels really yucky. It's like,
Yeah.
I said, so what will it bring you if you have that tooth replaced, if you have that implant? She said, well, it'll make me feel really, I'll be able to eat this and I won't have to worry about, not being able to chew on that side. And also I won't be conscious of it. So she's like, and I said, so how can you afford to do it? She's like, well, actually, if I do this, and yeah, I can afford to do that. And she felt so good after the conversation because that was
Mm,
something that she needed and she could see a way to getting it.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yes. So the other thing in terms of taking action is taking aligned action or making alignment your priority. And
Yeah.
again, we go into detail about this in episode 106, about focusing on your vibration and your frequency, because that's where all that good, that's where all the treasure is.
Mm,
So, focusing on gratitude, really tapping into the abundance you already have, focusing on what's working for you rather than what's not working for you, and being open to receiving, ladies.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, you can talk about the cash value, but one of the things you might want to think about is financial freedom. Is working on a part-time basis, does that give you the freedom to do sport, pursue a hobby, take care of your loved ones, whether they're older or younger? Kind of that's the kind of freedom ticket that gets often sold. And you may already be actually as financially free as you want to be, but not realize it.
Mm-hmm.
If you could earn more money, but then have to spend more money on childcare.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm.
What does that financial freedom look like? How might you already be there?
Yeah. And I want to add one more thing that I hear a lot with clients, a lot of clients that are either working part-time or because they've been so burnt out, they're not earning anymore until they find their way again. They feel that they're not contributing financially to the household, or
Mm,
they're starting a new business and they're not earning the money that they were earning. So it's very, very helpful to look at not just your contribution financially, but your contribution as a partner, as a
mm,
mother, as a sister, as a daughter. How are you contributing to the household? How are you contributing to your loved ones? How are you supporting your partner in their financial, in
mm,
their job, in their financial goals? So, it's also being open to receiving that wealth as well,
mm.
and looking at your contribution to the household.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned, the word gratitude, and I encourage all of the listeners to just tune into some other
Mm.
episodes as well where we explore gratitude. But there's real value in understanding that you can love the life you live. It's not all living the life you love isn't necessarily a different thing than loving the life you live. So
Yes.
examine all of those ways that you are, financially free, or you're able to express your beauty, or reusing clothes that you've got in the back of your wardrobe. Hey, this is a circular economy. Everybody's reusing clothes in one way or another. It's just like step out and own it.
Gotta love a good charity shop.
Yeah.
I
Oh, for sure.
mean,
Yeah.
oh my God, some of the bargains and some of the clothes in there are such good quality. They have to go to the right areas to do that. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways that you can express your abundance and your own wealth. Claire did an incredible episode 107, all about your personal wealth and your
Mm,
personal assets, which is
mm,
more about, it's not about finances, but it's about what you bring. and all the assets that you bring. So yeah, that's a really cracking episode, as are pretty much most of our episodes.
Hell, guys, you could be paying millions for this advice and support, and you
Yeah,
get it for free. It's
yeah,
another one of your assets.
yes, yeah, yeah. Resourcefulness, huge
Yeah.
asset. So yes, if you've enjoyed the episode, is there anything else before we finish? Is there anything else you want to add?
No, well, one of the key things is really around this, watch your language and start to change your language as well. But we've got a cracking episode lined up as part of this abundance and finance season, where we're going to look at specifically at the words and how you can change the individual words to step into, abundance or to asking your worth. So we've got a very, very practical episode coming up then.
Fantastic. Well, as always, if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and like, share it with your friends, with people that you think will benefit from this. We really appreciate that. And if you want to find out more about myself and Claire, you can check out our websites and find out what we do. Claire is an amazing leadership strategist, business strategy coach, and she's got a wealth of experience and skills, and I love working with Claire. She's amazing. We both love doing this podcast.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think we've said that on every podcast,
Well, no, and I'm disappointed we haven't said the word juicy this time.
Yeah, we usually do, don't we? We said it. See, conversation.
No. We're not in this for the hard sell. We're genuinely in this for the service. We really want to support women like you understand that you can thrive, and we want to help you to thrive. We want to give you the practical strategies, and if you want to do more work, we're here for you.
Mhm.
But we just want you. We know that if you're living your best life, the world is a better place.
And part of that best life is financial freedom.
Oh,
So yes, we offer our services, and we also want to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm owning that. So till next time, have a
Yay.
fabulous week, and we'll see you again soon.
Real soon. Bye.
Bye.